No matter how I look at it, how much research I do, I keep coming back to one guy that stands head and shoulders above all other researchers and inventors of, I don't know, for how many centuries.
Did you know that the pyramids in Egypt perfectly line up to what's called the true north? It's built so accurately that even the sides of the Great Pyramid line up exactly with the Earth's equator. Clearly, whoever built the pyramids were clever. I mean, they didn't even have a compass then. So maybe they knew things we don't understand yet. But who, exactly, built the Great Pyramid? First, let's explore a couple of possibilities. Elon Musk, in one of his tweets, suggested that extraterrestrial beings or aliens might be responsible for the Great Pyramid's creation. While he was probably being sarcastic, some people took it quite seriously. He also said these beings could be responsible for creating the Stonehenge and the giant figures at Easter Island. On a different note, there's the theory that a giant, Goliath-like creature was involved. In 1996, a Japanese construction company conducted a test to determine how many men it would take to move just one of the pyramid's 2.5-ton building blocks. The surprising answer: 18 men. Think about it. Up to this day, the world's most successful construction companies struggle to replicate the pyramids. So how could mere humans with simple hand tools achieve such an attainment thousands of years ago? The Great Pyramid, the most perfectly built among all the Egyptian pyramids, is composed of a staggering 2.2 million stone blocks, spans 13 acres in width, and stands at a towering height of 481 feet. Remarkably, it held the title of the world's tallest building for millennia, until the construction of the Eiffel Tower in the 1800s. The prevailing theory suggests that the Egyptians, possessing advanced knowledge and skills, made use of sledges, rollers, and pulley systems to transport the massive stone blocks. Some even say that the Egyptians altered the landscape by digging canals from the Nile to transport materials to the pyramid construction sites. Historical accounts, particularly those related to the Greek historian Herodotus, suggest an astonishing scale of manpower involved in building the pyramids. Herodotus estimated that a workforce of 400,000 men worked 3-month shifts, with each group replaced by a fresh set of workers. If this is all true, it means that the ancient Egyptians must have been amazing planners if they got this all organized from the start. There is another controversial theory regarding the presence of water beneath the pyramids at Giza. Some say that the Egyptians strategically manipulated water flow, creating canals to transport materials. While this theory has found support, there exists an alternative explanation for the water's presence, adding a layer of mystery to the pyramids. However, when you think about the primary purpose of the pyramids, it seems highly unlikely. Traditionally, pyramids are viewed as tombs where pharaohs undergo mummification and prepare for the afterlife. However, despite extensive archaeological excavations, discoveries, and the rich tapestry of wall art and artifacts, not a single human body has been found within any of the pyramids. Bodies have been discovered near the sites, but not exactly in the pyramids, which has led experts to wonder why that is so. Now I'm going to talk about an idea that might seem strange at first, but it's becoming more and more popular because of people like Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock. Now inside the pyramid lies a room called the King's Chamber. Above it, there are 5 chambers, each roofed and floored with massive granite beams, each weighing around 70 tons. To put it in perspective, a single 70-ton beam equals the weight of 35 large SUVs. These colossal granite beams were somehow lifted to a height of more than 350 feet above the ground and precisely placed in position. Archaeologists find it challenging to explain how this was accomplished using traditional leverage and mechanical advantage, especially considering the age of the construction. Like I said, replicating the pyramids is beyond the capabilities of even the most advanced modern technology. When we examine the various dimensions and alignments, it becomes hard to dismiss it all as coincidence. This has led some to believe that we might be dealing with a lost civilization using a lost technology. So what if electricity was used in the construction of the pyramids? Nikola Tesla believed that the Earth itself could function as a giant electrical generator, utilizing its poles to conduct wireless electricity. In 1893, at the World's Fair, Tesla astounded everyone by holding an isolated light bulb in his hand, and lighting it using the free electricity that, according to him, naturally runs through the earth. Take a look at this ancient Egyptian symbol called an ankh. Now, compare it to Tesla's oscillator. Notice any similarities? Next, examine these carvings from ancient Egypt. See that mysterious object it's holding? It looks like a wire and a ball. Well, in the 1934 experimentation, there were 3 items used: a ceramic pot, a copper tube, and an iron rod with liquid acid. These were found together in one of the pyramids. Combine these, and you've got a setup that can create electricity through a chemical reaction. Remember the theory about water beneath the pyramids? Those who think the pyramids were power sources believe that the water from the Nile, flowing beneath the structures, could control something called physioelectricity. Take a good look at these sarcophaguses. They are large structures built into the pyramids. Some experts thought they were bull coffins, but others argue they were battery boxes. In 2011, a camera exploring one of these rooms found a large copper wire. Those who support these ideas claim that the hieroglyphics on the walls are like ancient wiring diagrams. Nikola Tesla was captivated by the Great Pyramid and its potential to generate limitless energy. He even tried to replicate it with his own electromagnetic pyramid, the Wardenclyffe Tower, which aimed to create wireless energy by harnessing the Earth's resonance. Tesla claimed to use wireless transmission for images and sounds, but unfortunately, he wasn't taken seriously. By 1915, he faced bankruptcy, lost reputation, and saw his transmitter tower destroyed by suspicious authorities. If there are people who ought to destroy, there are people who build. So who really built the pyramids? It's the Israelites, who were forced and labored. Before the Exodus, when the people of Israel were enslaved in Egypt, Pharaoh imposed intense labor on them. According to the Bible, Pharaoh commanded that the Israelites should no longer be provided with straw to make bricks. Instead, they had to gather it themselves. Some argue that these laboring Israelites might be the ones who built the pyramids. There were estimated to be nearly 2 million Israelites in Egypt before the Exodus, providing a potentially vast workforce for constructing these incredible structures. However, this view has faced criticism. Detractors argue that the craftsmanship, precision, and artistry displayed in the pyramids suggest the work of talented individuals motivated by passion, not forced labor. Yet, if we delve into biblical history, we find stories where God's people, when guided by divine intervention, achieved exceptional success. King David never lost a battle, Daniel survived a lion's den, and Noah built an ark to withstand the great big flood. Despite these arguments, many, including Christian scholars, dismiss the idea that the Israelites built the pyramids due to the difference in timelines. The construction of the Great Pyramid, in particular, doesn't align with the days of the Israelites as per historical records. The Great Pyramid of Giza, according to Egyptian ologists, is believed to have been constructed between 25 and 500 BC. In contrast, the Israelites' exodus from Egypt occurred much later, around 1400 BC. However, this timeline has sparked debates among researchers. Some, like Graham Hancock and his team, argue that the Great Pyramid is even older than the accepted 4,500-year estimate. On the other side, some claim that the pyramid is younger than the commonly believed date of 2500 BC. But the mystery deepened with carbon dating tests. In 1984, radiocarbon dating tests suggested an age for the pyramid, but in 1995, a more recent test contradicted the earlier findings. This newer examination indicated that the initial test was off by almost 2 centuries. It gets more complicated, as the Egyptians were known for reusing materials, meaning that the tested wood and resources might be older than the pyramid itself. Some believe that Joseph, mentioned in the Bible, managed the construction of the pyramids. This viewpoint was notably held by American politician Ben Carson, although he faced widespread mockery for it. The theory proposes that Joseph built the pyramids to serve as granaries for storing vast amounts of grain. Carson thinks the pyramids had sealed compartments important for preserving grain. He first talked about this in 1998 and reiterated it recently, saying the pyramids were designed for long-term grain storage. Some cite Ron Wyatt's findings as supporting evidence for this theory. Wyatt drew attention to the Saqqara complex, noting that it aligns with the biblical account of Joseph gathering and storing food during times of plenty for the years of famine. Wyatt believes that the Bible saying Joseph collected grain as the sand of the sea, as it matches the huge amount of grain stored in the Saqqara complex. People argue about how old and why the Great Pyramid was built. Some follow regular archaeology timelines, while others consider ideas from the Bible and unconventional evidence. In ancient Egypt, there were 11 large pits that confused today's Egyptians because they had no clear explanation for their existence. However, during excavations of these pits, small bits of grain were discovered. Interestingly, each pit was connected by chutes, forming a connection with only one entrance. Ron, an investigator, speculated that these pits might have served as a marketplace for selling grain during the 7 years of famine in Egypt. Ron even engineered a possible replica of the machinery that could have been used in building the pyramids. His inspiration came from hieroglyphics and the discovery of large timber handles stored in the History Museum in Cairo. You might be curious if there was a main advisor or a leader like a prime minister in ancient Egypt during these tough times. Ron shows us something called an ancient Egyptian stela. It's a big stone with a story carved into it, and it tells us about a time when the Nile River didn't flood for 7 years, which caused a really long time without enough food. Ron's findings not only explained the mystery of the grain pits, but also hinted that someone important, like a chief advisor or prime minister, might have organized a response to the tough times. The historical account on the big stone slab, the stela, suggests they had a plan. And now, we can connect the dots to learn more about how ancient Egyptians dealt with such challenges. It revealed that when the pharaoh Joseph faced a severe famine crisis, he turned to a remarkably gifted individual named Imhotep for guidance. Imhotep, known for his exceptional intelligence, not only provided solutions to the hunger problem, but also earned the esteemed position of Pharaoh's chief advisor. In fact, he became the second most powerful person in the land, just after Pharaoh Joseph himself. He wasn't just any advisor. He was the first architect to construct the world's initial pyramid, a colossal structure towering at 225 feet, marking a milestone in ancient architecture. Imhotep also demonstrated prowess in astronomy, interpreting Pharaoh's dreams with keen insight. I want to shift your focus a bit. While the parallels between Imhotep and Joseph are intriguing, I'm here to reveal that there's something even more significant at sight. As we trace Joseph's life, we discover a recurring pattern, a typology, if you will. This might sound like a complex term, but all it means is that we see a vivid portrayal or representation of someone else throughout Joseph's journey, none other than Jesus Christ. Before I share my thoughts on who built the pyramids, let me highlight that my focus today isn't just on ancient wonders of biblical figures. I'm here to talk about something bigger, the repeated link between Joseph's story and the later arrival of Jesus Christ. It's about a deeper connection in the grand scheme of things. Jacob really adored his son Joseph. He loved him so much that he gave him a special coat with many colors. Similarly, God expressed immense love for his son Jesus, saying, "This is my son in whom I am well pleased." Joseph's brothers, who were from the tribes of Israel, became envious of him and tried to kill him. This mirrors the jealousy of the tribes of Israel towards Jesus, leading to his crucifixion. Joseph's brothers stripped off his coat and sold him to merchants in Egypt for a few pieces of silver. Likewise, before Jesus was crucified, his cloak was taken from him, and he stood before everyone in shame. Jesus, like Joseph, was betrayed by someone close, even considered a brother, and was sold for a few pieces of silver. Joseph thrived and prospered while working under Potiphar's household, but he faced temptation from Potiphar's wife due to his attractiveness. However, Joseph resisted the temptation and did not sin. Jesus, too, had a flawless reputation and was completely righteous. Despite Joseph's innocence, he was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife and ended up in prison with 2 criminals. Similarly, Jesus, the innocent and righteous one, was unjustly accused and crucified alongside 2 criminals. Now, let's get one thing straight from the start. I'm not claiming to be an archaeologist or some kind of expert. So, here's the deal. I'm the kind of person who believes that Imhotep is the mastermind behind the construction of these pyramids as he set the whole thing in motion. And here's a twist for you. I actually believe that Imhotep is the same Joseph we come across in the Bible. Now, you might wonder, where did this guy get such incredible skills? Well, my take on it is that the Almighty himself gave him this extraordinary mind, this brilliant brain, to craft these superstructures. I get it. Some of you might find this a bit unconventional or even far-fetched. Before we dismiss this, consider that there's tangible evidence supporting these claims. You can find it all right here in this video, packed with compelling visual documentation. It's just a matter of curiosity to dive in.